This is a Rooster Teeth production.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Annual Pass. This is the podcast where we talk about theme parks, attractions, snacks, foods, anything you find within the gates of a beautiful theme park. I am your host, Jack Pattillo, and of course, joining me, as always, is the beautiful, lovely, and talented co-host of mine, Geoff Ramsey. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, Jack.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I think this is the first episode we've recorded back in our home studio in Austin after a long time out in Florida.
That is true. And don't let me forget, before we end this episode, to tell you a quick little story about how we were pranked in Florida and we didn't know it.
Yeah, I heard you mention that on another podcast that we had been pranked, and I was very curious as to how that may have been the case. But you're listening to this right now. We're actually, you've heard a few episodes since we've come back from Florida. We're managed to get our buffer pretty significantly ahead. We're recording this in October. It's almost Halloween, but this is coming out sometime like mid-November. It's almost Thanksgiving, Jeff.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's pretty wild. So last week you heard an episode, or 2 weeks ago, you heard us talking with Swoozy. Last week was Mission Space, which Mission Space we recorded before we went to Florida. Mm-hmm. And so that was our first video version of the podcast. Hopefully you're digging that. Don't forget you can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/annualpass. Theoretically, we've launched it by now. I hope so. Along with our possible our Lego building thing from the twins.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I hope that we've done that. And if we haven't, my apologies. It's Jack's fault, but I'll apologize for him. I definitely was not an impediment to that one because I really want to do it.
I've been pushing for video for a while now. So we built the Lego set from Jessica and Jennifer, the twins out in Florida, and so they were very kind enough to give me. Yeah, they're awesome. They've been big supporters of the show, and we love them very much. The Annual Pass community. I know we harp on you guys all the time because you guys are so amazing. We really, really do appreciate the support. And please, if you like the podcast, tell your friends because podcasts like this live or die by word of mouth. And if you can just tell your friends who are like, hey, you should listen to Annual Pass. Give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's Jack and Jeff, old school. If you're an old school Achievement Hunter fan, maybe you'll like the podcast. Give it a shot.
I'll say this in regards to the Annual Pass community. We did a fan meetup or a community meetup. I don't like that word fan, but we did a community meetup out there and we're fortunate enough to meet about around 150 people.
Yeah, I think it's about 150 or so.
And I don't talk about it a lot, but I have developed some social anxieties through the course of the 20-year history of this company. And so I don't always necessarily look forward to being around a lot of people in any scenario. And they made it easy for me. They were so sweet and kind, and everyone was lovely. And I don't even think that they realized they were putting me at ease when I was trying to do the same to them. Well, it was really great.
I know I talk about it, but it's I feel like you sort of get what you give. Mm-hmm. And this is a very positive, very happy podcast.
Absolutely.
And I think the community reflects that. It's like, I love our friends over at Face Jam. A lot more energy, a lot more chaotic. And I imagine their meetup they had in Colorado, a little bit different from our meetup.
A little more chaotic than ours, probably.
Exactly. So anyway, again, love that pass holder community. You guys are the best. Don't forget also, we have stuff up in the store.roosterteeth.com. Grab some merchandise. We got the Annual Pass hat. We got the shirts. We got. We're working on the ponchos. The poncho. At this point, eventually it'll happen. It's Schrodinger's poncho. It exists.
That's what we should call it. Schrodinger's poncho. That's what we should call it.
It does and does not exist. I've seen prototypes. I've seen images. I haven't seen them in person. This is episode 31. We're well over half a year at this point. And I think episode 1, I was like, I want to get a poncho, and we're 6 months away from that. So.
Hey,
Jeff.
As a bit of an aside, I went to over the weekend. We had the big F1 race. In Austin. It turned out it ended up being the largest F1 race in history, and 400,000 people over the weekend were crammed into a place called COTA in Austin, which is the Circuit of the Americas. It's a big racetrack. The reason I bring this up is because I was there with my daughter, and I realized that it has rides. It has theme park rides.
Yeah,
and even a tiny little roller coaster, I think. But it also has a big tall one where you get in a pod and then it shoots you straight up in the air like a pendulum, and then other people get another pod and then it spins you and then you spin while you do it. And my daughter was like, hey, let's do that. And I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm getting on that. That's crazy. And then I realized, we should probably we should probably experience this for annual pass.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it, but I
saved it.
I saved it for a future.
There's a few things like that, some one-off stuff. Like you and I both really enjoy Las Vegas. And
love it.
Las Vegas has a few attractions out there, like theme park style attractions, like on top of the Stratosphere or at New York, New York. There's some stuff out there that maybe we could get budget to fly us to Vegas.
Yeah, no, I agree. I especially, and I know the audience has also expressed to us a few times, like, we really love the Disney and the Universal content, but there are other places on Earth that you can explore. We agree.
Yes.
And so we want to be able to explore those things as well, and certainly we're certainly planning to.
Yes. Yeah. And now that things seem to be getting back to better, I'm not going to say normal, but certainly it feels better. I mean, like Austin's close to stage 2 restrictions now. Like it goes up to stage 5 and we're down to stage 2.
We're at stage 2.
So it's like, that's a good sign. And hopefully, if we make it through the winter and things look good, next year is going to be the year of annual pass. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, don't forget to follow us on social media as well. I always mention that every single time. Annual_pass on Twitter and on Instagram. Check us out there. So, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Let's get into it today. Let's talk about something fun. This is an attraction that I believe you've been to. Mm-hmm. We are talking about the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Oh, yeah. I did go to that with my girlfriend.
So the Enchanted Tiki Room exists in 3 different Disney parks. It's at Disneyland in Anaheim. It's at Disney World at Magic Kingdom in Orlando. And it's also at Disney Japan as well, at Disney Tokyo. So, that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm sure you're going to tell me a lot more interesting facts.
I got facts for you.
But it's interesting to me because you walking into that, and part of why I liked the Enchanted Tiki Room is I felt like I was walking into Disneyland. When did it open? 1955. Yeah, I felt like I was walking into Disneyland somewhere around like 1958, and it was like being time warped back in time, which I loved, and I thought but I got the impression that this is like a beloved relic of the past that they're holding on to, so the idea that they would create it in new parks is kind of neat.
Yeah.
That's unexpected to me.
So fun fact, I didn't realize this, but the Enchanted Tiki Room did not open with Disneyland.
Really?
It was not an opening day attraction, as a matter of fact. So Disneyland opened up July 17th, 1955. The Enchanted Tiki Room actually opened up on June 23rd, 1963. So 8 years later. And not only that, it was actually the first major expansion to Disneyland. So Adventureland right there on the left side, kind of if you're saying north is the castle, sort of the south west corner of the spokes, that's Adventureland. And so the Enchanted Tiki Room was the first major expansion to the park. And with that, a lot of cool stuff happened. A lot of firsts. This attraction has a ton of firsts. First and foremost, first ever use of audio animatronics. So
like in a theme park or ever?
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the first in-person audio animatronics. So you think like Haunted Mansion, like the mummies or the statues and stuff moving around. You think Pirates of the Caribbean. No. It was the Enchanted Tiki Room was the first time ever they linked audio and motion together to make something look alive. And it was birds. Makes sense because they don't do a lot of movement. It's just kind of some head turns and some their beaks move and stuff like that. But yeah, that's significant because audio animatronics are sort of the key. It feels like every single attraction now has audio animatronics at some point or another.
Sure, yeah,
and
absolutely.
This is the birthplace of it all. Also, fun fact, you'll appreciate this being being in Texas. The Enchanted Tiki Room was the first building at Disneyland to have air conditioning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the whole machinery of it, the whole show was run by computers. It sounds like whatever, computers, that's not a big deal. 1963, computers were significant. So the actual computers ran through the floor of the show. So they had, like the thing was so big. I mean, a computer was the size of this room. It was enormous. And so in order to keep the computers cool, they had to air condition the entire place. So that just to make sure those things didn't overheat.
I don't want to interrupt you in
please,
through the course of this and jump ahead in the facts, but I assume you're going to cover at some point whether those computers are still in use or they've replaced them.
They have replaced them. There have been some major enhancements since the opening back in '63. Also, another fun fact, for a long time, this attraction had a restroom, which is the only attraction that straight up has a restroom inside of it.
Really?
Because the Enchanted Tiki Room initially was going to be a restaurant. it was going to be part of a restaurant. So the idea was it was a restaurant and it had a little show that happened in it. So they had restrooms because you have to have a restroom in a restaurant. It's just part of regulations. But they ended up killing the restaurant, and but the restroom stayed.
But it's not still there now.
It's not still there now. I think they got rid of it in the 90s, as a matter of fact. But it's pretty wild. And then the restroom too, I'm talking mostly about the Disneyland version of it. So we're talking about the one in California. Yeah. So the Florida one never had a restroom one. Japan one never had a restroom in it either. It's so I've got some facts here from Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is the best place to get information. It houses a Hawaiian-themed musical show hosted by 4 lifelike macaws. Do you know the 4 macaws? Do you remember their names?
I don't, but I bet my girlfriend would.
It's Jose, who speaks with a Mexican accent, voiced by Wally Bogue. Michael, with an Irish accent, voiced by Fulton Burley. These are great names. Pierre has a French accent, and he's voiced by Ernie Newton. And Fritz has a German accent, and that accent is provided by Thurl Ravenscroft. What a name! Thurl Ravenscroft. And these are all like classic Disney performers too.
He's like a historical J.K. Rowling's character.
Look at that. So we have an image here. If you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube.com/annualpass, maybe we can actually we'll throw some images up as well.
But he looks like a Thurl.
Yeah, Thurl Ravenscroft.
Ravenscroft.
That's a fantastic name. He feels like he should be in like a Clue movie or something. Like Thurl did it in the library.
With the Ravenscroft.
The presentation features a cast of over 150 talking, singing, and dancing birds, flowers, and a Magic Mountain, tiki drummers, totem poles that perform the attraction's signature tunes. The Tiki Room, which was actually done by the Sherman Brothers, which the Sherman Brothers were like Walt Disney's right-hand men. Like those guys did everything. Mary Poppins, you name it. Any sort of music back from like the golden era of Disney came from the Sherman Brothers. And so they, of course, were involved with the parks as well. And so I think they did the what is it? Grim Grinning Ghosts. I think they may have written that too, from Haunted Mansion too. Let's see here. Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing, which is kind of the mid-song. And the finale has every audio animatronic figure performing a rousing version of a Hawaiian war chant. The exit music diverges from the quasi-tropical theme, namely an arrangement of Hi Ho from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, with lyrics thanking guests for watching the show and hurrying them to the exit. So there's really 4 songs in the whole show, 3 full ones, and then they sing Hi Ho,
it's time for you to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's crazy. Like I when I was researching this, so I watched a lot of good videos. Shout out to Historyland, which is a great YouTube channel, The Laughing Place, and Theme Parks and Entertainment. Lots and lots of good history on the Enchanted Tiki Room. If you want to find out more, there's some fascinating stuff. If you want to watch full versions of the shows, including the Japan one, which is very interesting, we'll talk about in a little bit. You can check those all out online as well. But yeah, it's the Enchanted Tiki Room. So one of the things, the reason why it's the Tiki Room, because apparently tiki culture in the 60s was huge. I didn't realize this, but that was like the thing. Yeah. And so do you, when you were alive in the 60s, do you remember any of that?
No, I wasn't alive in the 60s, but I remember it being like, as a kid of the 70s, I do remember it being pervasive in the culture back then even.
Yeah. You see tiki mugs and stuff, but like that stuff really wasn't the hotness until around the 60s. So apparently it was a lot of soldiers and whatnot coming back from the, Oceania and like Hawaii, that had been over there, and they sort of been like influenced by Hawaiian culture and Polynesian culture, and so they brought that back with them. And like in California, especially, it was really, really, really popular.
Well, I think Hawaii, and this is a bit conjecture, and I think maybe me remembering or misremembering some stuff I read on Wikipedia a while back after a vacation to Hawaii, but I feel like there's a lot of California influence in Hawaii and vice versa, because it became such a popular destination, vacation and then eventually retirement, a destination for Californians and Pacific Northwesterners in the 50s and the 60s, when they kind of discovered, kind of like how Austin has been being discovered for the last 20 years, right? Hawaii went through that, obviously. Oahu went through that in the 60s. And so there was just so much cross traffic back and forth that I think,
Yeah, and you even think like, the Polynesian is one of the hotels in Orlando at Magic Kingdom. And it's like, I wonder if now, if they were to open up a new thing like that, would that be even like considered as like, oh, we should do a Polynesian? But even if you think about it too, the hotels, I learned this from I forget which YouTube channel, but the hotels at Magic Kingdom around the lake in front of Magic Kingdom were actually themed around areas inside the park. So you have the Grand Floridian, which is based around Main Street, USA, because it's kind of like idealized version of of what America is. You got the Polynesian, which is Adventureland, and then you've got the Contemporary, which is Tomorrowland. It's like, oh, okay. I never really thought about it, but it's like, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And apparently there was going to be another hotel. I want to say it was themed around like Fantasyland style, so it was going to be like a castle. Never got built, but maybe someday. We'll see. They always need room out there. So by the mid 1990s, so the Enchanted Tiki Room really didn't change a whole lot. It was pretty much the exact same show. They altered it just a little bit. Sometimes like the feathers of the birds would change colors. They would like tweak a few things, maybe cut out a couple things, because the initial show was like 21 minutes long. It's now, I think they've shrunk it down to like 14. There's a lot more banter between the hosts, and they slowly got rid of it, and now it's kind of it's a tight 14.
Hosts are pretty great though.
Yeah.
Or at least the one that I saw was really good.
And so by the mid 90s, the Enchanted Tiki Room audio system was dramatically enhanced. So they kind of redid everything. So the closets full of computers, they got rid of those and replaced them with a digital audio system. One thing too, as someone who worked in a park, you notice when you're listening to animatronics, a lot of them have very clicky mouths. I don't know if you know that, but it's like they go because like they're actuators basically inside of them to move them around in like open mouths and stuff. When I worked at Great Movie Ride, the Munchkins, when we'd open the show, or like when we'd open the park before the guests were in the park, we would do shows with no audio. We would just run through it just to cycle the vehicles out, make sure everything was okay. And you went to the Wizard of Oz area, and all of these Munchkins would pop up deadly silent, but their mouths would start moving, and you start hearing clicks all around you. It's like Last of Us. It was really freaky. Anyway, so, the birds obviously had that same kind of thing. Apparently, they've redone all of the birds. And so now, as far as I know, they don't have that. Do you remember any sort of clicking noises from the birds?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because, that's literally just opening and closing, and closing. And so they've changed it, and so now it should be a little better. So much, much higher quality birds they've got at the Tiki Room. The original Tiki Room was controlled by a large room full of floor-to-ceiling computers that operated the birds with data on magnetic tapes, which was located underneath the floor of the main showroom.
God, we've come a long way.
That is wild to think. I would love to see those magnetic tapes as well. There's a fascinating, if you have Disney Plus, I think it's on there. There's a fascinating video. It was the 10-year anniversary of Disneyland. Walt Disney did a kind of tour of what's going on in the parks, and this is around the opening of Tiki Room. And he was showing off how like the birds worked and stuff. And apparently they actually show the control room in that video. So if you remember like the World of Color, like, Disney used to do a lot of TV where it'd be like, hey, here's the parks. Like, here's, they talked about Magic Kingdom before he passed away. It was like, here's a big map of it. This is what we're going to do. And so Disney was very fond of doing that kind of stuff. And they did a whole episode where they brought up the birds and everything and how that worked. Because that was significant. It was audio animatronics, first time ever.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty cool. Give that a shot. Check that out if you ever, feel like it. The Florida version of the attraction, which was identical but with a different pre-show, so they have different pre-shows out front, was known as Tropical Serenade until 1998. So the one in Florida, the one at Magic Kingdom, was not the Enchanted Tiki Room. It was Tropical Serenade.
Even though it was the same show with a slightly different pre-show.
Yeah. So the inside was identical. When it was replaced with so in 1998, it was replaced with an updated version of the attraction called the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management. Now, this one, the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management, there's a lot of backstory for this guy. So this was around the time, the 90s. Disney kind of had a resurgence of movies. They threw in, the Enchanted Tiki Room, or excuse me, the Tropical Serenade wasn't drawing in as many people. It's kind of an old sort of dated thing, It didn't have the sort of charm that Disneyland did where, expect that. Magic Kingdom, more kind of family tourists and stuff. So the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management, they added in 2 new Disney birds. Can you guess what the Disney birds were they added to it?
In 1998?
1998. Name a couple of famous Disney birds that would have popped up around then in the 90s. You're thinking Beauty and the Beast. You're thinking Little Mermaid. You're thinking Lion King. Like, think about like what was going on around that time.
What didn't Gilbert Gottfried play a bird in a movie?
That's one of them.
What was that?
That is Iago.
What was that movie?
That was Aladdin.
He
was Jafar's right-hand man.
So right-hand Iago, and then was there a bird in The Lion King?
There was.
I don't know. I never saw it.
You never saw Lion King?
I saw it in the theater when it came out, so I haven't seen it since.
God, the opening, The Circle of Life, one of the best openings ever of a Disney movie.
Yeah, I remember.
Zazu. Zazu is the name of the bird. John Oliver did him in the live action version. So they brought him up. Anyway, so the idea was, it's the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management, and it's got Iago and Zazu are kind of these new hosts, and they have these animatronic versions of these birds, and it's pretty much them making fun of the original Enchanted Tiki Room.
Really?
So it was them kind of yelling at him, and they had updated songs. I don't have the list of songs they had, but it was like they just changed up all the songs, made it more modern. Horrible feedback. Guests hated this show.
Really?
Yeah, they did not like it at all.
They didn't like poking fun at the old show? Or it just wasn't done well?
I guess. I mean, I'm sure I saw it at some point. I just don't remember it at all because, I mean, that would have been prime time for me to be there. I worked there twice because this thing was open from 1998 until 2011. And so I know I went to it.
That's 13 years of bad feedback.
13 years of bad feedback. And then in 2011, there was a fire. So at the Magic Kingdom, there was a fire, and apparently the Zazu just melted. They just burned and died. Well, not died. It's not a real thing. But at that point, they were like, well, instead of doing a Zazu,
but Gilbert Gottfried was fine.
I'm sure he was fine. Instead of building a new one of those, we still have all the original birds. Why don't we just make it the original version again and get rid of it and just kind of use this as a an excuse to be like, all right, let's go back to it. So got rid of the Burn Zazu, the Torch Zazu, got rid of the Iago, and brought back Walt Disney's The Enchanted Tiki Room. So they renamed it to The Enchanted Tiki Room, and now that's what it is in the theme park at Magic Kingdom.
Was Japan going through all this nonsense as well?
So the Japanese version of this attraction operated until 1999. So it was the original version up until 1999. I want to say it opened in the 70s. I forget exactly when Tokyo Disney opened. So this version of the attraction opened until 1999, when it was first redeveloped into a nightclub-style version of the show called The Enchanted Tiki Room Presents Get the Fever. So they updated some of the songs. I want to say they had a female host, like one of the birds became a woman. And so that was the first time ever they had a host like that. Did okay. It wasn't as terrible feedback as the under new management. But then it was redeveloped again as the Enchanted Tiki Room the Enchanted Tiki Room Stitch presents Aloha I Como Mai, a partially Lilo and Stitch themed version of the attraction. So they brought in Stitch. Remember we did the Stitch's Escape or Stitch's Great Escape?
Yeah.
They had a very similar version.
Which got reskinned to be
it was
something else.
It was the Extra Terrestrial, and then they replaced it with Stitch.
Right, okay, gotcha.
So they brought in a Stitch animatronic, which looks great, by the way.
Yeah.
And the idea is because it's still Hawaiian themed, and Stitch takes place in Hawaii. Lilo and Stitch takes place in Hawaii.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thematically, it makes sense that he would be there, and it's basically him there with the birds, and he wants to make the birds part of his family, and he wants the audience to be part of his family. Aww. And it's actually really sweet, and apparently it's gotten a lot of really good reviews, and like people love it, and it's still going on today. So the fact that there have been 4 versions of the show: the original, the under new management, the Get the Fever, and then Stitch. And only Stitch is the one that's still going on. The original and then Stitch.
The original, yeah.
So it says a lot. And so if you want to watch the version of the show, you can. It's on YouTube as well. So check it out. And it looks really cool. And Stitch wearing like Hawaiian shirt and stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's super cute.
Is it in English or Japanese?
I want to say it's in Japanese.
Okay, that would make sense.
I am curious about that because like that's one thing. #Japan will pass. When we do go to Tokyo Disney, like I am curious if like what's it going to be like, because there are shows, there are attractions that have subtitle or they have voice dialogue. Is it all been replaced, or is there an English version of the show you can go to? I mean, I'm not trying to be like you have to have an English version, but I am curious.
I kind of hope there isn't.
Yeah,
I think it'd almost be more immersive. I mean,
it's music, and like music is the language of music is a whole entirely different thing.
Absolutely.
And so I'm all about that. And so I am curious if you've been to Tokyo Disneyland or any of the parks in like Shanghai or anywhere like that. Let us know. Let us know in the comments over on Rooster Teeth. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear. So I want to check out Stitch Presents Aloha I Como Mai, which sounds like fun. And so that's pretty much it as far as my sort of history. Again, if you want more in-depth versions of the history, there's so many great YouTube channels out there. I want to highly recommend to you. We are a top-level version of theme parks. This episode of Annual Pass is brought to you by Genlock Season 2. That's right, the mind is a powerful weapon, but who really is in control? In the groundbreaking HBO Max series Genlock, the fate of an increasingly hostile world rests on 5 shoulders who upload their minds to a giant mecha war machines. Don't you wish you could do that too? Executive produced and starring Michael B. Jordan, Season 2 of this action-packed animated series is now streaming on HBO Max. 50 years into the future. I'm reading this really dramatically for you. 50 years into the future, a global extinction event ravages Earth. War rages between the Union and the Polity, who hold very different ideas on how to save humanity. As territories fall, the Union's charismatic leader preaches about a higher existence for all mankind. The Genlock team is the Polity's greatest weapon. Utilizing advanced technology, they upload their minds to weaponized robotic suits to combat the Union forces. The team of fighters will soon learn that digitizing their minds can leave them more shell-shocked than the battlefield. As their darkest thoughts become reality, whose war are they fighting and at what cost? The heart-pounding new season of Genlock features a star-studded voice cast, including Michael B. Jordan, Dakota Fanning, Macy Williams, Asia Kate Dillon, and David Tennant. Season 2 of Genlock is now streaming on HBO Max. Humanity will prevail. Check out Genlock Season 2 right now on HBO Max. It is such a cool show, and I'm so proud to be involved with a company that's involved with that show. So thank you very much for supporting that and supporting Annual Pass. So let's get back to the episode. Jeff, are you ready?
I am.
To join me,
yes,
at the Enchanted Tiki Room in Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
The original.
Okay. Well, I mean, technically the refurbished.
The refurbished original.
New one.
Yeah. Smaller computers, same great songs.
Same exact park where the original happened. And so Jeff, are you ready to join me?
I am.
All right, here we go. Jeff! Hey!
We're sitting next to each other. We don't need to scream.
Oh, well, I'm so excited because we're about to see some birds. We're here in the Enchanted Tiki Room. Look around us, Jeff. It's all this beautiful wood and everything. Do you know that this place actually fell apart a couple years ago, or about 20 years ago?
Is that true?
Yeah, front of the building actually fell off, but they replaced it. They've made it really, really pretty and nice now, Jeff.
Looks fine to me.
They've got all these birds that looks really cool. They've got, like, they're all been redone and cleaned up, and they
so
look
Polynesian.
So good. Jeff, look at the birds. Look at the host. There's a bird right there. It's Jose.
That's Jose. Is he a parrot?
They're macaws, Jeff.
Macaw.
Come
He's
on
a macaw.
now. What's wrong? Get your birds right, Jeff. We got Jose, and we've got Pierre and Michael. He's Irish.
Okay.
That's it. And then Fritz.
And
Fritz
Thurl.
Thurl Ravenscroft is the voice of Fritz. He was like old school Disney. Look at them. They're all talking to each other, Jeff. They're bantering back and forth. They're right above our heads.
It's adorable. And they look like real birds.
They do. They look exactly like real birds. They're really, do you know they're actually real bird feathers?
I hope they don't poop like real birds.
No, I hope that would be awkward. They've been holding it for a long time. Yeah, so they're right above our heads, and they're talking to each other. They're like,
so they killed birds to make those birds?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they found them. They're vegan birds.
Okay.
They found feathers on the ground, but over these, look at all the other birds. They woke up all the other birds, Jeff.
They're everywhere.
There's so many birds now. They're all going to sing to us. You ready, Jeff? You want to sing along?
It's like we're in an aviary.
Yeah, kind of.
Apiary? One of those two.
Aviary. Yeah, I think that's it. Hey, Jeff, let's sing the song. Let's sing the Tiki Room song.
All right.
In the Tiki Room. In the Tiki Room. In the Tiki Room. Something flowers in
the flowers that talk too.
Hey, that's the song. Yay!
No copyright strike on that.
Nope. No, I don't think anyone is confusing us with the original version.
Yeah, I think we're safe.
All right. So once I get through it, really, that's a classic song. The Sherman Brothers wrote that song, Jeff.
Good old Sherman Brothers. You know, I think that they may have made that other song.
They did.
The Oogly Boogly Bad Man, or what was it?
Yep, that's it. Oogly Boogly Bad Man. That's the one they sang. And how does that one go, Jeff?
Oogly Boogly Bad Man, Oogly Boogly Bad. I'm in the haunted mansion. Oogly Boogly Boo.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly the song. Yeah. So, okay, Jeff, well, we're done with the Tiki Room song. All right, well, wow, look at the fountain in the middle of the room, Jeff.
Oh, it's lit up.
It's lit up. It's so pretty. It's got there's a big column of water that's going, it's moving down, but Jeff.
Is that a fountain or is that years and years of collected bird poop?
It's very liquidy if it is very bird. Wow, look at the Birdmobile, Jeff.
Oh, that's adorable.
It's the Birdmobile. They've got a bunch of pretty macaws.
That's
they're all
beautiful.
White. Oh, so pretty. And they all got their names underneath them, too. Look, there's Suzette, and I think there's like Courgette, and then there's Corvette, and then Porsche, and I don't know the rest of their names, but they're all there.
Every one of them.
And they're all
there's Chevelle.
Yeah. there's
Grand Wagoneer.
Pinto. Oh, Jeff, they're singing, let's all sing like the birdies sing. It's so pretty.
Let's all sing like the birdies
because they whistle too. Yeah, and then everyone joins in. It's such a lovely song. It's such a nice. Look at the whole mobile thing moves around neat. And look at the water's going. Yay!
If you ever have a kid, and I hope you don't, but if you do, you should put that mobile above there.
My God, that would be so awesome. Yeah. All right, Jeff. Oh, the song's wrapped up. It's so nice. Oh, Jeff, look, the flowers are now coming down from the ceiling. Jeff, there's like flower beds that are coming down, and the flowers are singing, Jeff.
That's better to sing than I don't know.
That's true.
I was getting Invasion of the Body Snatchers vibes. Are they making pods? The flowers?
I don't know. I don't think there's any Audrey 2s in here. I think these are all happy, and they're singing a nice little Hawaiian song. Jeff, I know. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. It looks like we've upset the gods, the Hawaiian gods, and now the totems are playing along too. They're singing. It's the Hawaiian war chant. Jeff, what does that sound like?
I feel scared to do it, Jack. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
You tell me, Jack.
A lot of drums. You can hear all the drums. Boom, it sounds really good. Boom, there you go. Boom, and all the columns are singing.
War. Boom, 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 boom.
What is it good for?
Fight.
Okay. Yay, they're all singing. And then, everyone's singing together. So we got a big thing. We got water in the middle. Everything's going off. All the birds are going crazy now. Oh, and then the lightning. Whee! It's so scary.
Hold my hands, Jack. I'm scared.
It's raining outside, Jeff.
Oh, Lord.
They made rain happen. Wow. Okay. Oh, well, okay, that's done, Jeff. And now the birds are like, oh, well, thank you for coming to our Enchanted Tiki Room. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
I did.
And now they're singing hi-ho. They're going like, hi-ho, hi-ho. Back to the park you go.
Time for you to go.
Yeah, and they're saying, hey, we've got a magic trick. Stand up, and now everyone, we're going to make you disappear. And it's like, thank you, Jose and Fritz and Michael and Pierre. And so that's
Who's your favorite bird?
I think mine is Fritz.
I like Fritz.
I like Fritz too. Yeah, Ravenscroft is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then Jeff, we're gonna get up, we're gonna walk around, look at our friends up in the ceiling one more time, and we're gonna walk out into the park. And why don't we go have ourselves a nice Dole Whip?
Well, I think we have to after that.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And that does it. That is the walkthrough of the Enchanted Tiki Room. So
that was intense.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, man. So let's see what I got here. So who do you? So Dole is the sponsor of the show. Who do you think was the original sponsor of the show? Because they weren't the original sponsor of the show.
Oh,
makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Del Monte,
not Del Monte. Close though. By close, I mean not really.
Who's the other pineapple?
I don't know.
Dang,
Chiquita?
No, who was it?
It was actually United Airlines.
Close. It was so close.
Which at first I was like, that's weird. And it's there's people traveling, so that makes sense.
Well, and their original, I don't know if you remember this, United Airlines, but I don't know if it was the original, but one of their early slogans was Pineapple of the Sky.
That is true.
Yeah, United Airlines, Pineapple of the Sky. Yeah.
I think SpongeBob lived in a pineapple in the sky for a while, and then they had to change it.
That was a spinoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, United Airlines was the sponsor of the show up until 1975 when Dole took over, and that's also when they introduced Dole Whip to the parks, which now when you think Disneyland, you think Dole Whip, you have to have a Dole Whip.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't had a Dole Whip, it's basically soft-served pineapple-flavored ice cream that is incredible. It's so good.
And to my knowledge, there's two places on Earth you can get it, at a Disney park or at the Dole factory in Oahu.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have actually been writing me and saying like, well, no, actually, I had it at this location near my house. A State Farm. Yes, a State Farm.
State Farm location?
Yeah. State Park, maybe?
No, like State
or State Fair?
Farm. No, State Farm, the insurance company.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so, there are pineapple flavored soft serves.
So while you're waiting to pay your bill, we got coffee over there, we got water, we got there's a Dole Whip.
Jake's got some Dole Whip for you. No, it's so there are pineapple flavor soft serves, and there are even some done by Dole. Whether or not you can call them the official Dole Whip, I don't know. And right. I'll let you, pass holders in the comments, let us know if you see Dole Whip outside of Disneyland, do you call that official Dole Whip? I don't know if you can.
If it doesn't say Dole Whip with a R or a TM next to it, because if it does, then you can call it official. Take a photo and let us see.
Yeah,
we want to see the copyright.
So as far as I know, you've got it obviously at Disneyland in California, then you've got it in Magic Kingdom, and also at the Polynesian you can get Dole Whip as well. They have a Dole Whip booth you can get it at the Polynesian.
All right.
And as a matter of fact, we went there when I went there last January 2020. My friends and I, we had dinner reservations at the Polynesian, and we're like, hey, why don't we pregame? And we went and got Dole Whip before we went and had dinner. We ate it while we were getting seated, and then we had our dinner, and then afterwards we went back and got more Dole Whip. And not only that, it was just pretty cool because the credit card machine. Oh, okay. So Ben is showing us a Dole Whip. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
this is yeah. So real quick. So when we wrapped up dinner, we went down in the Dole Whip area at Polynesian, which is just outside the main area. Their credit card machine broke, so they're like, you know what? Instead of shutting down for the night, like, hey, this one's on Mickey, and they gave everyone free Dole Whip.
Oh,
which is like, that's the way you should do it. It's like, hey, we had an issue. It's not your fault. We're still going to give you Dole Whip.
And Mickey pulled out his black Amex and said, boom, like Jay-Z.
This one's on me.
Yeah.
No, so while we were there, so when we went out to Orlando, a couple weeks, or a month ago at this point, I took you guys to Disney Springs, which was we didn't go to Disney World or anything, but hey, we had when we got there, we had some nights free. So I took you guys down to Disney Springs.
Which is where the prank happened, by the way.
Really? Okay. So down there, it's, Disney shopping complex where they have the World of Disney. There's lots and lots of cool Disney merchandise. They have a Christmas store. They have tons and tons of stuff. And while we were there, they actually had Dole Whip. They had special Dole Whip. So we had Dole Whip nachos, I think, right? Is that what it was called, Ben? Yeah. And so it was this bowl of just mounds of Dole Whip with waffle cone chips with tapioca beads in there.
Those tapioca beads were good.
Yeah.
They were a little red.
Yeah. And then whipped
flavor
cream
bombs.
And sprinkles, I think. There was so much stuff. And it was meant to have one for 4 people, and we got 4 for 4 people. And we actually shot video of it too. I don't know if we ever did anything with it. So hopefully, if you're watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/annualpass, we'll throw that up there on the YouTube channel. What's up, Ben?
So we have it. We can maybe try to put it up on the YouTube channel when this episode comes out.
There we go.
It was very good.
It was very, very tasty. And we definitely filled up on Dole Whip very quickly. So when we get out, we still need to go. I need to take you to the parks. I need to take you to Magic Kingdom. I need to take you to Epcot and all that stuff, Hollywood Studios. I need to show you my old turf someday, where we used to hang out, and I could point out stuff.
Your old hood.
Where I'd be like, hey, this Toy Story Land we're standing on. This used to be the backlot tour. This is where we were, but not anymore. So because it was one of the first expansions to Disneyland, they actually charged 75 cents a piece to see the show. So as you know, Disneyland, it was kind of a per basis, a per ride basis kind of thing. They tickets, they A through E tickets. So they didn't do the ticket thing. You just straight up had to pay cash to see the original version of the Enchanted Tiki Room.
It's worth it.
It's worth 75 cents, absolutely. For sure. I'm curious what that would be now with inflation. So 75 cents in 1963 versus now 60-something years later. Also in the show, so you have the totems around. So you have the birds. Everyone knows the birds. There's also singing flowers, and there's also singing totems. Which in the totems, they actually have Polynesian gods. So one of the gods actually represented in the show is Maui. Which, Jeff, you know Maui, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
From the movie
Mulan.
Moana. You're right.
I haven't seen either of those movies. Moana.
Maui is the Rock. The Rock plays Maui.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's the big dude. He roped the sun. That's his big thing. Maui roped the sun to give people more time during the day, I guess. Because the sun used to go super quick, I guess. So he roped the sun to slow down time. Anyway, first representation of Maui was actually at the Enchanted Tiki Room, not in Moana. So there you go.
Man, no wonder The Rock had to quit wrestling. If he can rope the sun, what hope does Stone Cold Steve Austin have?
And according to the book Disneyland Detective by Kendra Trahan, the cast list of the show breaks down as this. So there's 120 things here. We have 8 macaws, 12 toucans, 9 forktails, 6 cockatoos. So that's all the birds. Then we've got 20 more assorted tropical birds, 54 singing orchids, the flowers, 4 totem poles, 12 tiki drummers, 24 singing masks, and 7 birds of paradise, which are plants. They're not actual birds. So that's your breakdown of all the birds. And that is going to do it for our look at the Enchanted Tiki Room. And again, shout out to Historyland, The Laughing Place, Theme Parks and Entertainment YouTube channels. Check them out if you want more information on that. And also Kendra Trahan with the Disneyland Detective. So thank you. Jeff, do you have anything you want to add to our look at the Enchanted Tiki Room, seeing as this is one of the things you did before COVID hit?
Just that it was as someone who I took my first ever trip to Disneyland. Right before the pandemic started, the February of the pandemic,
2020. Yeah,
so it was. I had been to Disney World as a kid, but I had certainly I didn't remember it, right. And out of everything that I did, this was top 2 or 3.
Really?
It was definitely a highlight for me.
That's cool.
It was very very charming.
It's definitely like a time warp.
Yes,
like you sit here, that's one of my favorite things. Is like you can sit there, like at Disneyland especially, you can be like, oh, Walt walked these walkways. Like Walt sat here and watched this show. And Magic Kingdom, I love Magic Kingdom. It feels to me like Disneyland is more of a trapped in time kind of place. I mean, like the castle. Like nowadays, you look at the castle, it's beautiful. It doesn't have that sort of like awe-inspiring, sort of like magnitude to it as like any of the other castles at all the Disney parks.
Yeah.
And that's because it was made in the 50s, It's like, all right, but at the same time, I don't imagine they'll ever like tear it down and rebuild it into something bigger. It's like, nope, that's Disneyland. That's the park. That's what that one looks like forever. And so something like, the Enchanted Tiki Room is definitely like an homage. Like there are some parks where they'll tear down stuff. Like Universal's very much like we'll tear down stuff and build something new. We'll get rid of Kong. We'll get rid of Murder, She Wrote to throw up new stuff. But Disneyland, of all places, I can see them being like a little bit more hesitant to do anything like that. Jungle Cruise is never going to go away. Pirates is never going to go away. Haunted Mansion, never going to go away. And hopefully Enchanted Tiki Room also will never go away.
I hope not.
So that does it for the Enchanted Tiki Room. Ben, you have something to add?
Yeah, just wanted to follow up. Tokyo Disney opened in April of 1983.
Okay.
And also, the Tokyo show is in Japanese. It sounds like everything's been translated, and there might be some songs that are still in English, but they've translated a handful of the songs.
That's awesome. I'm curious if the hosts are still the same too. Like if they have like a Japanese gentleman doing a German version of Fritz.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to hear other languages doing other languages.
Other languages doing other language accents. Right?
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully we can get out there someday and then check out the Aloha Como Mai version of the show. So. Jeff, we're going to jump into the Q&A, but before that, do you want to explain this prank
that
happened to us?
So when we were in Florida, one of the first things I said to you is, hey, listen, my girlfriend, she's gotten recently very into these tiny Christmas villages you build and little ceramic, and there'll be like Santa's house, and then there'll be like, and they do IP, right? So there'll be like the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation house or the car with the like the station wagon with the tree on fire,
like the Hallmark stuff.
Yeah, like the Hallmark stuff. It's I guess the same thing. It's called Department 56 is like what I understood to be where it came from. But my girlfriend told me it was called and Tiny Town, right?
Okay.
It's called Tiny Town. Now, that was the name of the product.
Okay,
and that is what it's officially called. So when you and I went to Florida, and she said, "Hey, Disney makes Tiny Town. Can you check and see if there's any Disney Tiny Town stuff?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, absolutely. So we go to Disney Springs. We go into they have a giant Christmas store. You said is like the big Christmas store. So we go in and we walk up to an employee and we say, do you guys have Tiny Town? And they go, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you actually asked. And we ask a couple other people, and everybody's like, I don't know what Tiny Town is. I'm sorry, I've never heard of it. And I'm like, no, you guys have a partnership with it. There's a licensing agreement. Like, you guys make it. It's almost Tiny Town season. Where's the Tiny Town, right? And they didn't have it. And it was befuddling. And everywhere we went, even at Universal, just to be safe, I checked for Tiny Town everywhere. Everybody just looked at us like we were crazy.
Yes.
Right? You and I, because you were kind enough to do it as well.
Yeah.
Got home. My girlfriend's dad was in town, and we were having a conversation. And she was showing off her Halloween Tiny Town, because we have a smaller Halloween Tiny Town village that she started to set up. And they were relaying the conversation. They were just talking about it and the products and stuff. And I said, yeah, it's weird that Disney doesn't have, Disney had never heard of Tiny Town. Mm-hmm. And her dad kind of gave a weird look. And then she goes, well, it's not. And he's like, why is he calling it Tiny Town? And I go, that's what it's called, Tiny Town. And he's like, is he talking about the Arrested Development joke? And I'm like, I don't know, am I? Apparently, that's what Job calls it in Arrested Development. He calls it Tiny Town in like later seasons that I hadn't seen, and it's like a thing that he and his dad do, or that. Anyway, so they call it Tiny Town as what's the one-handed brother?
Buster.
So apparently, Buster and Job have like a competition with to get like to. I don't know, to win their dad's love via Tiny Town or something. I haven't seen it, so I don't know it. But then I found out it's never been called Tiny Town. And Emily was only calling it Tiny Town because she thought it was funny in Arrested Development. And so nobody would have known what we were talking about, because no one else has ever called it Tiny Town unless they're referencing a TV show.
Okay, so us being naive to the whole thing, it just went way over our heads.
Way over our heads.
But I bet it tickled her. I bet she was very happy to hear that we were asking about Tiny Town.
Yeah, she and her dad thought it was very funny when they realized that we were walking around. She was like, yeah, but you were asking for Department 56. And I was like, no, I asked for Tiny Town because that's what you call it. And she's like, it's not called Tiny Town. Like,
nice.
Why do you call it Tiny Town?
Well, if you know any Department 56 stuff for Disney, Jeff is a huge fan, so we need to find more of that stuff. So, all right, Jeff. Well, I've got some Q&A here. These are pulled from the Graveyard Review episode, which was the Scott Porter episode. Turns out
Great dude.
Turns out Scott Porter, much more famous than I had any idea. My sister called me when we did it.
You didn't look at his IMDb?
I mean, I did, but I was
very
like,
successful.
But she's like, dude, it's the guy from Friday Night Lights, and I was like, yeah. She's like,
and Lucifer.
Yeah, she's like, how did you get him? And I'm like, I just reached out to him on Twitter. She's, it was that easy? I'm like, yeah, and he was a super nice guy. She's like, oh, he was in Speed Racer. I'm like, yeah. It's super nice. But anyway, so I guess
it's just that easy.
Yeah. So
looking at you, Barack Obama.
So Scott Porter, though, huge get for us, which apparently was way above our pay grade. I
Lovely dude.
Super nice guy.
Great to talk to.
If we ever go out to Disneyland and we do like a live show in Disneyland, I would love to get him to come back out and like hang out with us because he was a super nice guy. So anyway, quite the Q&A and the answers are from that episode. So Snipper16, this is kind of a throwback, Jeff. Question: if you could take any IP, whether it be movie, TV show, and to turn it into a theme park or ride, what would it be? I think the first episode of Annual Pass, we brought this up. So you obviously have a very distinct thing you would like to turn into a theme park / ride, right?
I've changed my mind.
What? Captain Carrot is no longer your go-to?
I'm a big fan of Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew, and I would like to see that. But I was thinking about this very thing the other day, and I came up with a new.
Real quick before you jump into it, did you see that Captain Carrot is coming back as like part of a new Justice League thing?
I'd like to think that we had something to do with that, Jack. Who else has been singing the praises of Captain Carrot as consistently and as long as I have?
Yeah, for the past 6 months, Captain Carrot.
No, since I was a kid, man.
Oh, okay.
I still have my Captain Carrot comics in my storage shed on the other side of town.
Wow.
I'll go get them tomorrow.
You should.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he says that Scott was his inspiration for the episode because he would like to see a Speed Racer roller coaster, which would be pretty cool. I can imagine.
That'd be very
cool.
The
one based on the Wachowski film back. Oh, man, you could do some real fun stuff with that. So, well, Jeff, what do you think? What would you...
Here's my new one.
You've got a new one now.
Here's
Go ahead.
New one. This theme park. It's not a ride. It's a whole theme park. Do you remember that 1960s British show, The Prisoner?
No.
Oh, it's a phenomenal. It's about a spy who gets abducted and wakes up on an island, and it's run by other spies, and he has to try to escape. And every episode he tries to escape, and then eventually he takes them down, and it's a whole thing. But there's like all kinds of weird future tech in it, and there's all kinds of like wacky contraptions and like 60s sci-fi, and the whole point of it is to try to escape the island. So I think it would be cool to recreate that island.
That'd be kind of cool. Now, yeah, I think that'd be neat. That'd be neat. Yeah. A little bit more intense. Maybe not a kids theme park, but definitely a lot of fun.
Well, there's a lot of people die a lot in the Prisoner.
Yeah, probably not. You don't want to do that in a theme park. You don't want a lot of death in a theme park.
Yeah.
For me, I would like to. I forget what I said back in the day because we answered this question before. But I think what I would like to see now, the more I think about it, I would love to see a Muppet theme park. Where like imagine the Muppets, like it's a normal theme park, but the Muppets have Muppetized it. You know, like they took it over, changed up stuff, like things that would be one way, but then the Muppets come in and kind of wreck it in their madcap shenanigans. That would be pretty awesome.
Do you know what would be awesome?
What's that?
You remember how in Fraggle Rock they could like travel
down in Fraggle Rock?
Yeah, down in Fraggle. They could travel through like the rock paths and stuff they had made. I would love to be able to do that as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Or like for a kid. Like I did that at there's a place called, I think, Sherwood Forest in Oregon that I used to go to when I was a kid. And they had similar kind of things you could crawl around through. It'd be fun.
There was a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids play set at Disney MGM Studios back in the day where it was like you are shrunken down and it's just giant Honey, I Shrunk the Kids stuff. So there's like big ants. There was a leaf you could go down. There was a net that you could climb up and roll down. It was so much fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I remember that they tore it down for the backlot area. There was a cool restaurant back there too. But anyway, so that's that one for. So we got another question here. This one I think is I don't know if you can answer this, but I'll give it a shot. Talon Tardis says, Have you ever had a memorable admission experience? By this, I mean, has a team member just set you up for a good day by brightening your mood before you even really got to the park? For us, we would try to hype up guests when they waited to go through security or waiting at our turnstiles. So I guess they worked at a park. And we would tell each guest to have a thrilling day as they left us to enter the park, trying to turn the boringness of waiting into the excitement of the day ahead. That right there. So this not this specifically, but the idea of the cast members at a park, they can influence your day so much. And I was very aware of that. Disney does a really, really good job of being like, hey, everything you do, anytime a cast member or anytime a guest sees you as a cast member on stage, like not backstage, but on stage, they're going to get energy from you. So the key of it is to be excited at almost all times. And it can be exhausting, but if you kind of buy into that, it actually can affect people. And I've had people that came up to me like, one of my favorite things to do was when I worked the Great Movie Ride, when I worked the Backlot Tour, I loved being on microphone. Shocking, I know. But that being said, so like at the top of the queue at the Backlot Tour, it was this big open area, it was kind of like a covered area where they had props from Pearl Harbor and stuff around, but it was 4 lines that all kind of like stopped at the top of the queue, and then we let people in behind us, they go into the water portion of the show. So that was one of the rotation spots where you'd go, and that's where you would like fill it up, and then once you hit a certain number, you tell people to stop, wait for the next show. It was like every 10 minutes we'd load it. And there was a microphone up there, and for some reason, that microphone with the metal covering of that sort of structure area made my voice sound amazing. And so I loved sitting there, and I would do the, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Disney MGM Studios Backlot Tour in just a few moments, et cetera, et cetera.
Keep going.
I don't remember the rest of it. And so like I literally had people that would come up to me and they'd be like, I thought that was a recording. Like, because they would hear it when they were further down. They're like, that's you doing that live? I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. And it's like stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. I love sort of the unexpected, the surprises. And that was very important to me. And I think that's a lot of fun. And like anytime you experience that stuff, as a matter of fact, at the Enchanted Tiki Room, there is a cast member who's been working there for like decades. It's this older gentleman, and he does the intro where he's like, welcome to the Enchanted Tiki Room. And he like makes a kind of show out of it. That wasn't part of the original show. He just kind of turned it into his own thing, and now he's part of the show. And
that's very cool.
I love that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's my long-winded thing of saying, yes, I love that. Do you have any experience like that?
I guess I do, in that when I did that Disneyland trip, because it was my first time in Disneyland, and my girlfriend and her friends, they took me over to a person at the beginning and said it was my first time, and so they made a button and they spelled my name wrong on it. They spelled it Joeff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's horribly all kinds of wrong. But they were lovely about it, and that in itself was so funny. Yeah. And then everybody that said hi to me for the rest of the day had to pronounce that name, and that was funny. And so it did kind of set the tone for the entire silly day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. And then I've got a couple stories here. So these aren't questions, but these are some really beautiful stories I wanted to share for sure. Again, I go through all the comments over on Rooster Teeth. Like anytime you guys leave messages, I love reading them. We have so many, I can't get to all of them, but I try to focus on a couple here. So Destruct Ron says, since I started listening to this podcast, you guys brought back one of my fondest memories of my grandpa who died from colon cancer. It was when I was about 8 or 9, we went to Disney World and I wanted to go on Star Tours. So the whole family went with me for the first time. My grandpa didn't even know or like Star Wars, but my grandpa and I rode that 3 or 4 times in a row because he loved that ride so much. This podcast reminds me of that memory every time I listen. Also, Jack, I remember seeing the Muppet Show that you talked about in another episode for that trip as well. I can't wait for you guys to go to Cedar Point. I've ridden every ride there since I was a kid, even worked there for a summer. Thanks to you guys for being great. I love that stuff.
Thanks to you, buddy.
Like that means the world to me, that like hopefully we can bring that stuff back to your mom. And then Amber I, this is a little bit longer story. While this isn't a question, hear me out. I'm so glad you brought up Donkey from the meet and greet experience, as I have an amazing story related to him. So Donkey is the animatronic. Scott Porter talked about him. Like there's actually an actor there.
Yeah.
It would be mind-blowing if anyone knows the team member and or knows if they are still there. Here goes. I used to holiday to Orlando from the UK fairly regularly growing up, say every 4 years. And in 2009, when I was 18, we visited and spoke with Donkey. In 2014, we missed this particular greet spot, but when we went back in 2017, all this time later, a decrepit 27-year-old, we managed to get another encounter with Donkey. He immediately recognized our meager family of 4. Thinking of this gets me all misty-eyed. He turned to me and said, "Look at you, little Weasley, all grown up." I had a lot happening, and going back to Disney Universal was more poignant those last few years due to various reasons. In that time, I actually had done a lot of growing up, but this interaction made my life. I know some characters recognize guests from time to time, but this is usually due to them being frequent visitors to the park, not nearly 10 years between interactions. Ultimately, we live in a small world, so if anyone can tell this guy he made someone beyond happy, please do. That's awesome. Like, I love that, And we see people a lot, and it's like, okay, it's sometimes it's hard to recognize people, and I feel bad anytime someone's like, oh, we actually met before. It's like, oh, I'm sorry,
it's the worst.
But someone like that made this person's made their
decade. Life. Apparently,
that's so sweet.
That's so great.
Anyway, Amber-eyed, that is great. So, all right, well, Jeff. Every week I ask a question to the audience. They ask us questions, and I ask a question back. The question I asked during the Graveyard Review episode was, who or what is your favorite monster? Because we were doing, Beetlejuice and everything. Got some good ones. TNT Raider says, my favorite monster would have to be the creature from the Black Lagoon because that sort of thing always terrified me. Something lurking in murky ponds or lakes waiting to drag you beneath the water. That's pretty freaky. Eridinus says, my favorite monster would be a tough tie between Godzilla and Creature from the Black Lagoon. Godzilla for his awesome size and fun movies, and Creature because of the pinball machine we had at work is easily one of my favorites of all time. But the new Godzilla one might be a contender once we get it. So there we go. Mikey O49 says, my favorite monster movie character is the Invisible Man. I felt like he was the one that truly terrified me when I was younger, and now as an adult, I feel he's the best dressed. Invisible Man always has a nice, hat on and stuff. So
he's dapper.
Kelbo says, do werewolves in general count as classic monsters?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how classic an American Werewolf in London is, but I've always loved the transformation scene, and I love that Universal's horror makeup show pays homage to it. We saw that.
They do, yeah.
That thing has been there since the very first version of that show.
Phenomenal movie, by the way, John Landis. Just phenomenal.
And phenomenal makeup show as well.
Yeah.
Deep Blue Bree says, I would have to say my favorite classic monster would be Dracula. There have been so many revised versions of Dracula throughout the years, but the OG Dracula would always be my favorite. And our winner that I randomly picked from everyone who answered, or at least most of the people who answered, is Dev Nicholas. Says, my favorite monster is the Mummy. He just wants to sleep and be left alone, and people come and disturb him and steal from him. As an adult, I relate to him so much more now. Also, still a great movie. Hey, congratulations, Dev Nicholas. You have won. I'll reach out to you and I'll drop you an email, and we'll get you a theme park map signed by Jeff and I. And again, if you want to try to win a theme park map signed by Jeff and I, answer this question in the comments over on Rooster Teeth. Would you ever try to modernize an attraction? Would you ever take an attraction and try to add something to it and modernize it? Or would you just leave it be? Because, this one has been modernized a couple times. It got under new management, got, Stitch. So, would you ever try to modernize an attraction, add something to it? And even like Haunted Mansion got the Nightmare Before Christmas version too. So
and Pirates of the Caribbean has Jack Sparrow in it.
That's true. I don't know if that would be considered a major refurbishment though. They kind of dropped him in as a character. I don't know. Anyway, so let us know in the comments if you would modernize anything or do you just leave things be, and I'll select someone randomly and we'll send you a theme park map. So that's going to do it for this episode, Jeff. We've done it. We went through the Enchanted Tiki Room. We went to Disneyland. Went to California. We got to go to Japan now and see the Japanese version of the show. And so it's been a lot of fun. We got Thanksgiving coming up, and hopefully we got some cool merchandise heading your way as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to do it for us here on Annual Pass. Don't forget to spread the word. Let your friends know about Annual Pass. And now we're on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Annual Pass. Go watch us over there, and hopefully we'll start popping up related. We're going to throw some more videos in. We have the Dole Whip video of us eating the Dole Whip nachos and all that, and lots of fun stuff. You and I we're building.
Play some Legos.
Gonna play with Lego. Or we got a lot of cool stuff over there. It's a new, alternate place to check out our stuff. So anyway, we love you guys. That's gonna do it. Jeff, you learned anything today?
No.
Not at all. Okay.
Yeah, I learned all kinds of stuff today, man.
That's good. That's good. It makes me happy that I teach you something. So that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. We love you. Stay safe out there. We'll see you soon, and take care of yourselves. Bye.
Bye.